In the early 1980s, a photographer named Ronnie Barrett, photographer nonetheless, thought it would be cool to come up with a semi-automatic 50 BMG rifle. This next part is typically what gets left out in Wikipedia and every other website I could find. Everybody mentions the M82A1, which we have in front of us. Nobody mentions the possibly two prototypes that happened in between there. I found a couple pictures, I found a couple drawings, but I can't really find any information on the other one. There was a rifle before the M82A1. The M82. What's up, guys? Welcome back. So, had a little intro there, but this is the Barrett M82. Definitely one potentially could be seen as a prototype. When Ronnie Barrett started making these, kind of his intro to it, weirdly enough, the guy was a photographer. His photography studio got a call one day. A group in Tennessee that was trying to build a boat for the Army wanted a photo shoot for their boat so they could, advertise it to whoever they were trying to sell it to at the time. Their photographer didn't show up, so they called this local shop, which just happened to be Ronnie Barrett picking up the phone. And he said, sure, I'll come out. Comes out, takes some pictures of said boat. While he's taking the pictures, he notices the dual Browning M2s on the front of this boat, and thought, man, that'd be pretty cool if we could, if somebody made a semi-automatic civilian legal one, that you could shoot from the shoulder. He took that idea to then a couple machinists around the area and said, hey, I want to build this. And all of these machinists shot him down, saying like, no, this is dumb, nobody wants to buy this, like it'll never sell. So he kept trying, started drafting up some prototypes or some drawings at his dining room or kitchen table, as we can only assume, and eventually found a guy by the name of Mitchell who was like, yeah, I think I can help you with that, that'd be pretty cool. So they started drafting some up. Shortly thereafter, they came up with a prototype. They then put it in a magazine as a kind of a for sale ad, and they kind of took off. Somewhere around there, Barrett actually took it back to the same manufacturer of that boat he was taking a picture of, and said like, hey, I have a working prototype. Can you, do you want to help me build this? And they were still so caught up in trying to sell these boats, they turned him down, which I can only imagine the owner of that company looking back now and thinking, man, how did I screw up? But it worked out, so they said no, so they just kept building them at Ronnie's. From what I understand, they were building basically out of his garage at that point. The M82 started to take shape. They built a couple prototypes. Sold them to a couple people out of basically a hunting and sports shooting magazine. And next thing you knew, he had, got the kind of the attention of Dick Swan from Arms Inc. Mr. Swan had an in and thought, hey, let's bring your rifle to this, basically a show or an expose or something like that for all of these high-ranking military officials, and said, hey, let's bring it and see if we can sell it to those guys. And at the time, they didn't have a booth. Dick Swan ended up hooking up Ronnie with a guy he knew that was actually selling night vision, and they brought out this huge rifle and slapped some night vision scopes on it. And next thing you knew, Israel was asking questions like, hey, maybe we could buy a couple of these. Turns out the first people to actually put in a contract with him was Sweden. They wanted it for, now at the time, think Cold War. They wanted this shoulder-fired rifle so they could take shots at Russian ships sailing by. Off the coast of Sweden, which obviously is right there at Russia's front door. soon thereafter, the wall fell and the Soviet Union crumbled, and with that, the Swedes decided, hey, we're going to cap it at 100. So Sweden ended up buying the first true contract at 100. Later on, the Air Force actually picked up some, initially for to shoot unexploded ordnance on their runways. So it kind of started to pick up there. They ended up selling some to the Marines, ended up selling some to definitely not the CIA, but those rifles ended up in Afghanistan. So some kind of neat history. Everybody kind of thinks it's the Army that is the reason this rifle came out, and the Army was actually one of the later ones to adopt it. Later on, they ended up adopting the M82A1, and now what we know as the M107. The M107 is an upgraded version with titanium internals, a little bit tougher, but the big difference is you can slap a suppressor on the 107 while you can't with the 82A1. So, interestingly enough, we brought up Dick Swan. This rifle, from what we understand, was actually built for Dick Swan, and that's where it starts to get even more interesting. When we contacted Barrett about this rifle to try to get some info about it, they basically told us that it wasn't possible that we had an M82 because there's only one that they know exists, and it's in Ronnie Barrett's collection. So, sent them some pictures, and they confirmed, like, hey, this is real, but that serial number doesn't make sense. The Barrett M82 started out with serial number 100. 100, naturally, is Ronnie's. This is serial number 50. So, they did a little bit of digging and got back to us and told us this rifle was actually for Dick Swan. I don't know where it went between his hands and ours, but it has now come into us, and now we have this giant piece of, legacy of the Barrett name. And who knows? Let's see what happens with them. They just got bought out by an Australian company, so I can only assume they're still going to sell to the commercial market and the military market. But time will tell. So I guess we'll see. Now, if you're not familiar with the 50 BMG round, so this guy right here is a 308 Winchester, fired out of all three of these guns up here. We have a SA-58 FAL clone, the SCAR 20S, and the PTR 91, again an HK clone, all fire the meaty 308 or 7.62x51. There's your 308. This is a 50 BMG. Typically around 660 grains or 700 grains for the actual projectile itself. There's a ton of heft behind it. And to harness that, Barrett had to come up with an idea of, you just can't shoulder something that big. So kind of the neat part is this barrel actually reciprocates. So the barrel, as the rifle fires, especially with the giant muzzle brake, the barrel actually reciprocates, which then starts the action. The action cycles, chambers the next round. Barrett's next thing was magazines. There was no magazines at that time. So they also had to custom design a magazine to fit this behemoth of a round. And they came out with a 10-round box magazine to feed it from and make it semi-automatic. So we can only speculate on a lot of the history of this gun, and I'm super happy we got a chance to check one out and actually get our hands on this. Not sure how long it'll stay here. It is up for grabs. Naturally, we're a business, so we'll see how long she sticks around. If you want to know any more information or have any more information, I would love to hear from you. You're welcome to comment here, message me here, or email me at michael@swampyankeearms.com. Love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think of the rifle and the video, and have a good one, guys. Thank you.